February 26, 2026, 1738 local time, Gulf of Oman, 52 nautical miles southeast of Jask. The USS Winston S. Churchill, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, is providing escort for a convoy of tankers transiting from the Persian Gulf to the Indian Ocean. 7 commercial vessels, 4.2 million barrels of crude oil, approximately $320 million worth of cargo. The Churchill's mission is simple: get the convoy through safely. At 1738:11, Iran decides to make that mission complicated, without provocation, without warning, without any indication that an attack was imminent. 4 Ghader anti-ship cruise missiles launch from a mobile battery hidden in the coastal mountains east of Jask. The missiles drop to wave-skimming altitude and accelerate toward the convoy at Mach 0.9. They're not targeting the tankers. They're targeting the Churchill. Iran fires first, and the U.S. Navy has 3 minutes and 22 seconds to respond. Welcome to War Signal USA. I'm your host, and this is the story of how Iran launched an unprovoked attack on an American warship, and how the response that followed, just 20 minutes later, changed the rules of engagement in the region forever. Let's understand why this attack was different. Previous engagements between American and Iranian forces had followed a pattern. There would be provocations, fast boats, aggressive radar locks, threatening maneuvers. Both sides would posture. Tensions would build. And then, eventually, someone would shoot. The June 2nd attack skipped all of that. There was no buildup, no warning signs, no diplomatic crisis. The convoy had been transiting peacefully for 14 hours. Iranian vessels had been conspicuously absent. The passage had been quieter than any transit in months. That quiet was the trap. Commander Patricia Reynolds had commanded the Churchill for 11 months. She was a veteran of the Gulf. 3 previous deployments, dozens of convoy escorts, intimate knowledge of Iranian tactics and capabilities. But she had never seen anything like this. At 1735, the convoy was in standard formation. The 7 tankers were arranged in a column, maintaining 1,500-meter spacing. The Churchill was on the southern flank, between the convoy and the Iranian coast. The afternoon was clear, visibility unlimited, seas calm, perfect conditions for the passage. At 1737, Reynolds was in her cabin reviewing the next day's routing. The officer of the deck had the bridge. The tactical action officer was monitoring a routine watch in the CIC. There were no alerts, no warnings, nothing to suggest that everything was about to change. At 1738:11, the first missile launched. The Churchill's electronic warfare suite detected it 4 seconds later. Not the launch itself, but the missile's radar seeker activating for terminal guidance. The signature was unmistakable. Ghader anti-ship cruise missile. Iranian. Hostile. And it wasn't alone. By 1738-19, the CIC had tracked 4 contacts, 4 missiles, all inbound, all targeting the Churchill. General quarters sounded at 1738-22. The ship had 3 minutes to defend herself. The response was immediate. SM-2 missiles began launching at 1738-34. 2 missiles per target. Standard doctrine for cruise missile defense. 8 interceptors for 4 threats. The first Ghader was destroyed at 1739-47. A clean kill at 14 nautical miles. The SM-2's proximity warhead detonated 6 meters from the target. The second Ghader fell 12 seconds later, another clean intercept. The third engagement was problematic. The first SM-2 missed. The Ghader had executed a terminal weave that threw off the interceptor's guidance. The second SM-2 scored a glancing hit, damaging the missile but not destroying it. The damaged Ghader continued toward the Churchill at reduced speed, its guidance system partially degraded. The fourth Ghader was destroyed at 1740-31. Distance from ship, 6 nautical miles. 1 missile was still inbound. The rolling airframe missile system engaged at 1740-44. 3 rams launched in rapid sequence. The first ram missed. The Ghader's erratic flight path, caused by the earlier damage, made it an unpredictable target. The second ram closed to within 40 meters before the missile jinked right. Miss. The third ram hit. The Ghader exploded 2,100 meters from the Churchill. All 4 threats neutralized. The convoy was safe. But the Churchill's ordeal wasn't over. At 1741:02, radar detected new contacts. Not missiles this time. Surface vessels. 8 Iranian fast attack boats had emerged from behind a large cargo ship 23 nautical miles to the north. They had been hiding, using the commercial traffic as cover, waiting for the missile strike to cripple the destroyer. The missiles had failed, but the boats were still coming. Speed, 48 knots. Time to reach the convoy, approximately 24 minutes. Reynolds reached the CIC at 17:41:17. She assessed the situation instantly. The missile attack had been defeated, but it had depleted her defensive arsenal. 16 SM-2s expended, 3 rams fired. The ship's magazines were down to 52 SM-2s and 18 rams, enough to defend against another salvo, but not unlimited. And now fast attack boats were closing, likely armed with rockets and short-range missiles. Reynolds faced a choice: engage the boats at maximum range with her remaining missiles, or save the missiles for potential follow-up attacks from the coast. She chose a third option: contact the Eisenhower, request immediate air support, and prepare a Tomahawk strike package targeting that coastal battery. At 17:42, the Churchill transmitted an emergency request to the Carrier Strike Group, operating 180 nautical miles to the southwest. The response was immediate. 4 FA-18F Super Hornets, already airborne on combat air patrol, were vectored north at maximum speed. Armed with AGM-84 Harpoons and JDAMs, they would reach the Churchill's position in approximately 14 minutes. But 14 minutes was a long time when enemy boats were closing at 48 knots. At 17:44, Reynolds made a command decision. Weapons: target the lead fast attack boats with harpoons. Engage at maximum range. The Churchill carried 8 AGM-84 Harpoon anti-ship missiles. Reynolds authorized firing 4, half her inventory, at the approaching threat. At 17:45:33, the first Harpoon launched, then the second, then the third and fourth. The missiles climbed briefly, then descended to sea-skimming altitude, racing toward the Iranian boats at Mach 0.85. Flight time to target, approximately 4 minutes. While the Harpoons flew, Reynolds addressed the second part of her response: the coastal battery that had started this fight. Intelligence indicated the Ghader launch site was located approximately 47 kilometers inland, in the mountains east of Jask. A mobile battery, probably 2 launch vehicles and a command post, that had hidden in the terrain until the attack. The Churchill carried 24 Tomahawk cruise missiles. Reynolds authorized 8 for the strike. At 17:48:22, the Tomahawks began launching. 8 missiles, 8 different approach vectors, all converging on the same target. Flight time to target, approximately 14 minutes. At 17:49, the Harpoons reached the fast attack boats. The Iranian vessels had detected the incoming missiles too late to effectively evade. The first Harpoon struck the lead boat directly amidships. The 221-kilogram warhead detonated on impact. The boat disappeared in a fireball. The second Harpoon hit 6 seconds later. Another kill. The third Harpoon was defeated by chaff. The Iranian boats had finally deployed countermeasures. The missile veered off course and impacted the water 180 meters from its target. The fourth Harpoon adjusted for the chaff and locked onto the third boat. Direct hit. 3 down. 5 Iranian boats remained. They were now 17 nautical miles from the convoy and still closing. At 17:52, the Super Hornets arrived. The 4 FA-18Fs split into 2 pairs. Each pair selected targets and began their attack runs. The first pair released Harpoons at maximum range, 67 nautical miles. The missiles would take approximately 4 minutes to reach the boats. The second pair closed to JDAM range and began designating targets with their targeting pods. At 17:54, the aerial Harpoons reached the Iranian formation. 1 boat was destroyed immediately. A second took a glancing hit and began taking on water. The 3 remaining boats reversed course. They had started with 8 vessels. 3 were destroyed, 1 was sinking, 1 was damaged. Only 3 remained operational. They didn't want to fight anymore. The Super Hornets let them go. Rules of engagement prohibited pursuing retreating vessels that no longer posed an immediate threat. At 18:02, the Tomahawks reached the coastal battery. The Ghader launch site was hidden in a narrow valley, a position that had protected it from previous satellite reconnaissance. 2 launcher vehicles, 1 fire control radar, 1 command post, approximately 35 personnel. 8 Tomahawks approached from 4 different directions. The first wave struck the command post and radar. The second wave hit the launchers. The third wave saturated the position with additional warheads to ensure complete destruction. When the explosions faded, the battery was gone. Iranian casualties: an estimated 34 military personnel at the launch site, plus approximately 58 sailors on the destroyed and damaged fast attack boats. Total, 92 dead. American casualties, 0. The Churchill had taken 4 missiles inbound, defeated them all, and destroyed the attackers in response. 20 minutes from first launch to final Tomahawk impact. Complete defensive success and devastating counterstrike. But the strategic implications were far more significant than the tactical outcome. Iran had fired first. For months, both sides had maintained the fiction that the conflict was a series of incidents, provocations, and responses, each side claiming the other had started it. The June 2nd attack shattered that fiction. 4 missiles, launched without warning, at an American warship conducting peaceful convoy operations. No provocation, no justification, an act of war. The United States responded accordingly. Within 24 hours, American aircraft struck every known Iranian coastal defense site within 200 kilometers of the Gulf of Oman. 37 separate targets. Over 200 precision-guided munitions delivered. The strikes were devastating. Iran's ability to threaten shipping in the Gulf of Oman was reduced by an estimated 80% in a single night. Iranian military casualties, an estimated 340 personnel. Civilian casualties, 12. Workers at a port facility adjacent to a military target. Each one was regrettable. Each one was also unavoidable in a conflict Iran had chosen to escalate. The international response was swift and unequivocal. The UN Security Council, including China and Russia, condemned the Iranian attack as an unprovoked act of aggression. Sanctions that had been relaxed during the ceasefire were reimposed. Additional restrictions on Iranian oil exports were enacted. Iran's economy, already strained, collapsed into crisis. Within 2 weeks, the supreme leader announced a unilateral ceasefire and requested emergency diplomatic consultations. The regime had overreached. The attack that was supposed to demonstrate strength had demonstrated weakness instead. The Churchill completed her convoy escort without further incident. All 7 tankers reached their destinations safely. Commander Reynolds received the Legion of Merit for her handling of the engagement. The weapons officers who coordinated the defensive engagement and counterattack received Bronze Stars. The 8 sailors who manned the SM-2 launch consoles received commendations. Their speed, 12 seconds from threat detection to first launch, was the fastest documented defensive response in the history of Aegis combat systems. 12 seconds had saved the ship. The Churchill remained on station in the Gulf of Oman for another 4 months, providing escort for convoys that transited without incident. Iran didn't fire another shot. The lesson had been learned. Attack first, and the response will be overwhelming. What lessons emerged from the Churchill engagement? First, surprise attacks can be defeated. 4 missiles, no warning, 3 minutes to respond, and the Churchill stopped them all. Training, technology, and speed combined to create an impenetrable defense. Second, layered defense works. SM-2s engaged at range. Rams provided backup. The phalanx was ready as a last resort. Each layer gave the others time to work. Third, offense is the best defense. Reynolds didn't wait for the fast attack boats to reach missile range. She engaged with harpoons at maximum distance and called for air support. The attackers were destroyed before they became a threat. Fourth, proportionality can be overwhelming. The U.S. response, destroying 37 targets across a 200-kilometer front, was technically proportional to an unprovoked attack on an American warship, but it was also devastating. Proportionality doesn't mean equality. It means appropriateness. Fifth, firing first is a strategic mistake. Iran gained nothing from the June 2nd attack. They lost a coastal battery, 4 fast attack boats, and eventually their entire Gulf of Oman defense capability. They also lost international support and economic stability. The attack that was supposed to demonstrate strength revealed how badly they had miscalculated. And finally, convoys matter. The 7 tankers the Churchill was escorting represented global energy security. Protecting them wasn't just about the oil. It was about demonstrating that international commerce would not be held hostage by regional aggression. 20 minutes. That's how long it took from first Iranian launch to last Tomahawk impact. 20 minutes of missiles, counter-missiles, harpoons, and tomahawks. 20 minutes that proved firing first means dying first. If this analysis helped you understand modern convoy defense, hit that subscribe button. We cover the tactics, technology, and truth behind military operations. Stay vigilant, stay informed. I'll see you in the next one.